23a, right after the Mishnah. Learned a lot. Learned a lot of things in the Mishnah yesterday, a lot of different opinions. I'm sorry, we did the first piece after the Mishnah. We're going to go down to Rabbi Akiva. The first part of the Mishnah was another statement from Rabbi Eiruvin Daf. How to use an area, a large area that was enclosed, that you should be able to use it. He said as long as there's certain things in it, it would be usable. Rabbi Akiva says that, one second. He says if it's Rabbi Yehuda held that even in a small area. Rabbi Akiva says, if it's a small area, you don't need anything in it. You can always use a small area. Up until 71 amas. 70 amas in a little bit, by 70 amas a little bit. Okay, the Gemara now says, Rabbi Akiva, even if you don't have any of those things, which is like a guardhouse or something like that, you still are allowed to use a smaller area. You turn the page, we're on top of Kimmel Amud Beis, Rabbi Akiva and Tanakama. Where says Rabbi Akiva is the same opinion as the Tanakama. Now the Tanakama, you have to go back to Yud Ches, Daf Yud Ches, which is our first Mishnah. In our first Mishnah, we were discussing a well that's surrounded by corners. Pasei Birais. Came along Rabbi Yehuda and said that Pasei Birais only works until a base asayim, which is 100 by 50 or 70 by 70. The Chachamim told them, no, that story with Beis Asayim, that's only for a gina or a carpet, a garden or for a wood, an area that stores wood. But if it's an area, it's a courtyard or something like that, then it could be much larger. And what we saw from that Tanakama is that anything that's not a Beis Asayim is permissible. It's only a Beis Asayim is only becomes prohibited if it's larger than a Beis Asayim and there's no living area in it. But if it's less than a Beis Asayim, then it's no problem. Now that's exactly what Rabbi Akiva is telling Rabbi Eiruvin Daf. That if it's less than a Beis Asayim, then you don't need anything there, just like the Tanakama held. Okay. That's the Gemara's question. The Gemara answers, Ika b'nai davar mu'at. The difference between Rabbi Akiva and the Tanakama is a davar mu'at. Okay, let's use the picture. Because I don't know why I thought this Gemara was so hard. Maybe it's because I'm starting school today, so I can't think. But it took me a little while to figure out. The picture really helps.
Don't be nervous. You're going to make a lot of friends.
Notice he didn't say money. Okay, here we go. What happens is Rashi has his own way of figuring this out. It's so interesting. The modern arithmetic would do it like this. If I have an area of 100 amas by 50 amas, then what I would do is 100 times 50 is 5,000 amas. 5,000 square amas is good, no problem. Let's say I want to do it as a square, not as a rectangle. If I want to do it as a square, then I would do 70 and 2/3 by 70 and 2/3. Shiva Amma B'Shirayim, 70 and 2/3. Now, 70 and 2/3 is 70.6. 6 so goes on. 7. So when you do that, you do 70.6, what you come to is 4,984. So 84, 82. 4,984.36. So you have a little bit of a difference there. 16 amas difference. If it's 16 or 18 amas difference. You have a difference there between the way you do it as 100 by 50 to if you do it by 70 by 70. That little difference, that discrepancy that you have is going to be a difference between Rabbi Akiva and the Tanna Kama. Now, who said Shiva Mamba B'Shirayim? Who came with that? That was Rabbi Akiva's version. What was the Tanna Kama's version? Beis Hasayim. They called it a Beis Hasayim, which means like this. According to Rabbi Akiva, the whole heter that you don't need to be mukaf l'dira, that the area that you enclose doesn't need to be a dwelling place, was only 4,984 amas. Anything more than that, it needs to be a dwelling place. According to the Tanna Kama, then it only needs to be a dwelling place if it's more than 5,000 amas. So the difference is the way you do the math. That's the discrepancy. According to them, even if it's 4,984, still doesn't need to be a dira. Doesn't need to be hukah for dira. Okay. The Tanya, we're starting the Brisa. Rabbi Yehuda says that there is a slight difference, more than the Shiva Mama B'Shirayim. The sages didn't give us the measurement. Kama shir sasayim. How big is a sasayim? Sasayim means 2 sa. Each sa is 144 eggs. So you're trying to measure a property, a land area with eggs. The way you do that is see how much grain could be sown in this property. So how big is an area that could hold 2 sa of eggs? We said that's Chatzar Mishkan. Chatzar Mishkan is 100 amas by 50 amas, which means that 50 by 50 could sow a sa. Now you double that. It's 100 by 50. So that's 2 sa. Okay. Minani Mili. How do you know? So the way Rashi's learning it, how do you know that you can square it off? Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, Rav Yehuda is not the Rav Yehuda from before. This is Rav Yehuda the Amayra. The Amakra, the pasuk says, Eirech hachatzer meya ba'ama, v'reichav chamishim b'chamishim. Length of the courtyard of the tabernacle, surrounding the tabernacle, was 100 amas, and its width was 50 and 50. Now, what it should have said is its width is 50. What does it mean? Chamishim b'chamishim. Amr Torah, the Torah says, Tol chamishim v'savev chamishim. Take 50 and surround the other 50. Okay, let's go back to that picture. How do you take 50 and surround the other 50? So you do it like this. The middle square, let's see if I can get the, first let's look at the rectangle. Is there a rectangle here? No. Okay. So the middle square is 50 by 50. I had another, maybe that's what this is for. Here, this is what it's supposed to be. I have this. I have a Chatzar Mishkan, which is 50 by 50. That's a square. I have, it's really 50 by 100. So it would be 50 by 100. First 50 you leave there. Second 50 you make it into strips. All right. So you make one strip of 10 amas by 50, another 10 amas by 50, another 10 amas, another 10 amas. Now let's ignore the fifth strip. Now what you do is you come to each side and you put a 10 amma by 50 strip on each side. Now when you look across, it's 70 amas by 70 amas, because 10 amas on each side. Now let's go back to that fifth strip. I have over here 10 by 10s. Very nice. That's exactly what I was missing. I take 4 of those 10 by 10s and I put them in the corners. I filled it up. I filled up the corners. Only problem is, and this is I now have only one little square left, the 10 by 10. What do I do with that? Well, a 10 by 10 is really 6 tfachim. Each amma is 6 tfachim. 60 tfachim by 10. It's going to come out to 300 tfachim. Now what he wants you to do is he wants you to do 300. You spread out the 300 tfachim. It comes to it's used on each side 70 ammas. You used up 280 of the tfachim, and then you spread out the rest again, or they put it in the corners. The rest of it comes out to 70 and 2 tfachim point something. Okay, that's Rashi's calculation. So what we're doing, the interesting thing is, chamishim b'chamishim. I take the 50 and I surround the other 50. It's telling me that I can square a rectangle. To use this for the laws of Shabbos, tell me what's considered a beis hasayim that doesn't need to be hukaf ladira. The Gemara says, 1 second. Pashte dekra b'may ksiv. You told me all of this, all of this is a rabbinic law that you can't carry in an area that's enclosed because it's not hukaf ladira, and you're telling me that you're learning it from a pasuk because the pasuk says chamishim b'chamishim. But what does the pasuk mean? Not what you're learning it to tell me. That's all like a smachta. That's not the very interesting Gemara. The Gemara is saying, but how do you translate the pasuk before all of this? So Amar Abaya says, Hemid Mishkan Osvas Chamishim Kadeshi Chamishim Amal Afana Vesram Amal Achal. Okay, just have to understand what's going on in the Mishkan. See, Yitzi, what's the picture in the back over there? Let's see if we can put up a picture for everyone. It's great. Okay, what we're talking about is this. This doesn't look perfect, but what it wants to tell me is this is 50 by 50. There's really another 50 amas up there. What you do is you walk into the Chutzner Mishkan 50 amas, or you can start from the back. Start from the back and you work your way up. When you reach amma number 1, so then that's where the Mishkan starts. But you do it the other way, you can start from that side. When you reach amma number 1, that's where the Mishkan starts. All of this is the courtyard of the Mishkan. Now what happens is that the open area in the actual Mishkan, in the tent of meeting, the open area is 10 amas. The way you get to that is because each board on the side is an amma and a half. And the amma in the back, there's 6 boards in the back plus the corners. 6 boards in the back give me 9 amas. Each one is an amma and a half. Then I put on an amma then I put on 2 boards on the corner. Now the 2 boards on the corner, I'm only using a half amma of each because if you notice, the wall then covers the other amma because the wall is the thickness of an amma. So half an amma plus a half amma is plus 9 amas is 10 amas. So this 10.
Dr. Stein, say something funny.
Dad, are you there?
Come on, Dr. Stein. We're having technical difficulties. Entertain the crowd.
No, it's Ben, his son.
Oh,
Just
okay.
making sure my dad's paying attention.
Then you,
Tell us a joke. Tell us a joke.
okay, no jokes. Okay, Benny, you're on mute. That's why no one heard you talk. Can you hear me? Can anyone? Oh, okay. So it's the rabbi's end. All right. So there was a rabbi, a priest. Naftali, if you want to talk, unmute in the meantime. And Yitzi Brick, Kathowitz is going to tell us what he's eating.
Yossi Drew, and just pick up this shear and keep going with it.
Didn't learn it.
Dr. Stein, that picture you have in the background is incorrect. It says 60 amas. It should be 50.
I know, but it was just the picture I had of the Mishkan.
Yossi, stop being humble. You know everything.
Dr. Stein, please remove that unhelpful picture.
Okay, I'll change it to the other picture I have. Hold on a second. Where'd it go? Hold on.
Also, that ramp is 3 amas wide. That should be 5.
Please, Dr. Stein, a little bit of discretion on these pictures.
This one gives you a little bit of color and no measurement for anyone to disagree with.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The curtain should be 15 amas high, not 5.
You see, Kasowitz, whatever that cereal is, you should share with all of us so we can have that knowledge.
All right, so who's looking ahead in the Gemara? What's it actually saying of 50 by 50? Is it the courtyard in the front of the Mishkan?
Okay, Rabbi Smith's reconnecting. He's just sent out if you didn't hear.
Moshe Drun, where are you? It looks light out there.
I'm in the airport,
Got it. Which airport?
Miami.
Where are we going?
Safe flight.
The Sia
No,
Tova.
no, not me. I'm taking my kids. They're both going to New York for yeshiva and school.
Your kids should have a safe flight.
Bracha
Right, thank you.
v'tzlacha.
Thank you. Okay.
Bracha v'tzlacha.
Okay, let's see. You guys get your suitcases out. Chev, I'm gonna give you the number.
Tati, you're unmuted.
So what? This is Russian interference. What is this? Putin took us off.
No, Rabbi's reconnecting.
Baruch Hashem.
In the meantime, Yitz, because you were desirous of the cereal of the other Yitz, picture yourself on the Wheaties box. Sorry, the whole picture got cut
Get
off.
you, I need to get you done. Okay, hold on. Okay.
Yeah, it's all because of you. I'm not talking about Lebensberger. Because you
So
made a
there's 2
difference
years.
between 50 and 60. If you had just been quiet, we would have continued. You know, the Gemara was picky with 70 and 2/3. You had to make between 50 and 60. Go
Dr.
ahead, eat. What? Vus.
Bobby Friedman is looking at you so confused. And you come from the same town, New York. Like, he doesn't even understand your accent anymore.
Wait, you don't realize something. That's what Abby Friedman looks like.
No. Come on.
No, I love him. He knows I love him. He's right now, he's reading ahead in the Gemara.
So when I was doing research on the Mishkan, I also went through Google and saw many of these pictures, and every single one there's a problem with it. And at first I thought, okay, it's according to Chumash and this and that, but if you look carefully, you'll see every single one is an issue.
I'm glad you brought that up because I did the same thing and came to the same conclusion.
I don't know, but when I take a multiple choice exam, I've always been told if one of the choices says like always or everyone, don't pick that one because there's no such thing.
Someone actually just sent me, a doctor from Idaho, non-Jewish, but he knows I'm into Beis HaMikdash and all the stuff, whatever. He sent me a very nice gift. I'm going to show you what he sent me, and let's see if you could spot the problem with it. I'm going to take off my background maybe. How do I? Oh, none. Okay, I'm going to show you.
The problem, we see the problem.
This is made in Israel, okay? This comes from Eretz Israel, all right? It's a beautiful painting, all right? Beautiful. Okay, now what's the problem with it? Take a look at the Mizbeach.
Where is the Mizbeach?
See the ramp going both ways?
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Dr. Stein, we have Rabbi Smith now.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm using my phone. It's a little different.
Okay.
I can't share the screen. But what we were saying is we'll have to look at Yitzi at the background then, and Yitzi Liebensberger's background. Is that the Beis HaMikdash or the Mishkan? So on Yitzi Kasowitz's background, there you see the Mishkan in the courtyard. Basically, if you divide it in half, then ignore the first half, the first 50 amas, then you have 20 amas on each side of the Mishkan because it's 50, so it's 20, 20, 10 in the center, and then 20 in the back because it was 30 amas long. That's 30 amas long. Okay, so that's where we're holding, and that would be the pashtas chamishim b'chamishim, that it starts at the 50 mark line. Okay, now we said Rabbi Lezer Reimer, back in the Mishnah, we said Rabbi Lezer Reimer if its length was longer than its width, even 1 amma, you can't carry in there. Sounds like it needs to be a perfect square. Even if you don't have more than a base of sign, it needs to be a perfect square. So, Vahatanya, 1 second. We have a brisa that says the following: Rabbi Lezer in Maisa Arka Yisrael Pishnayim Berachba Afila Amachas Ein Metal from Meteicha. This is a huge problem. He says it doesn't need to be a square; it could be a rectangle. Even if it's double, the length is double the width. It's perfectly fine. It just can't be more than double the width. So Gemara answers, Amar of Bibi Barabaya, Bibi Barabaya says, Ki Tanya, Ki Tanan, Nami Masnisin. What did our Mishnah mean? Yes, al Pishnaim Barach B'Tanan. It says more than double. Okay. We adjust the wording and it fits. He didn't mean that it can't be a rectangle. It could be a rectangle. It just can't be more than double the width. Yachi Hainu Rabbi Yossi. 1 second. That was Rabbi Yossi's opinion. Rabbi Yossi says, Arka Pishnaim Barachva. If it's double the width, then it's no problem. But it can't be more than that. Now you just made Rabbi Lezer the same opinion as Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara says, it could be Nayu, Ribua, Derivua, Rabbanan. Derivua, Rabbanan. This is a very interesting discussion here in Tosfos what this means. Tosfos quotes Rashi. It says that there's a machlekes if it needs to be lechatchila a square, but it's mutter if it's a rectangle, or if even lechatchila could be a rectangle. This is what is this lechatchila b'diavad going on over here? I mean, it's Shabbos, and you surrounded it, and this is your area. What's lechatchila b'diavad? Anyway, Tosfos quotes Rabbeinu Chananel that says that it's called a rhombus, where you have, it's like a diamond, where you have all the sides are equal. It's a parallelogram. You have all the sides are equal. Can't bring it up because I'm using my phone, the picture. But all the sides are equal, but the line, the diagonal line, it's not really a diagonal because it's a diamond, but if you turn it sideways, it's a diagonal. So the diagonal line is more than double. You can work out a parallelogram where you have the center line is double the sides. So what we're saying is that it can't be more than a basis sayim in any direction. That means you can't have more than 100 amas, in which you will have, if you squish a diamond, you'll squish it, it will get longer at the end. A diamond shape. I'm talking about a diamond. Okay, that's a shot from Rabbeinu Chananel. Rabbi Yossi Aimer, Kulo. We just mentioned Rabbi Yossi, that if it's longer than its width, more than double, it could be up to double its width. Kulo. Itmar Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Halacha Rabbi Yossi. Halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. Halacha Rabbi Yossi means that the area that's surrounded by an enclosure is doesn't need to be a square. It could be a rectangle. Rabbi Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Halacha Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi says in the name of Shmuel that halacha is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva's chiddush was that if it's not larger than a base asayim, then it doesn't need to be mukaf l'dira. Then any enclosure is good. V'tavaya l'kula. Both of those statements are leniency. Is it tzricha, and I need both of them. Diyashmina halacha Rabbi Yossi, because if it would just say that halacha is like Rabbi Yossi and hava amina, I would have said adika shemera beis dira. I would have said you need a guardhouse, you need to be able to live in that area, even though it's a rectangle. We just gave a big permission over here. It doesn't need to be a square. It could be a rectangle, and it's still, the enclosure works for Shabbos. You can carry in there. But maybe I need to have a dwelling area in there. So Kamash Malan, Halacha Rabbi Akiva. Kamash Malan, Halacha Rabbi Akiva, that you don't need a dwelling there. You don't need a dwelling in there. Because it's small. V'yashmin halacha Rabbi Akiva. If we would just say that halacha is like Rabbi Akiva, then have amina darach v'katan lai. I would say that if it's long and narrow, then no. I would say it needs to be a square. Rabbi Akiva didn't tell me anything about the shape. So kamash malan halacha Rabbi Yossi. Kamash malan halacha like Rabbi Yossi, that it could be a rectangle as well. Okay. Let me just check on my internet to see if I can get my computer back. Okay, let's see what happens there. Karfish. Karfif is an enclosed area that's enclosed for, not for a dwelling area. It's usually enclosed for wood or something. It's just like an open area. Now you enclosed it. It's like a park area, but it's not for a dwelling. Shuyesimi Beisasayim. That's larger than a Beisasayim. And Shahuka Fladira. Here you surrounded it because there's a house in there. There's a house in there. So there's a large area that's used for storage wood, but it has a house as well, and you made an enclosure around the whole thing. It sounds like it should work, because the problem of the karfif goes away when you have a house, right? However, Nizra Rubai, you then went and you sowed grain into that karfif, majority of it. Hareo Kigina becomes like a garden ba'asr, and you can't use it. The grain nullifies the house, and it takes over, and it's as if it's not surrounded for a dwelling. Not a rubai, but let's say you didn't put grain in there. You planted trees there. Now that is a different story. That's a real kachatzer. That's like a courtyard, and a courtyard you can carry it. It doesn't nullify the house, because the difference here is that usually people don't live in their fields, but they do live in an area that's surrounded by trees. In other words, they don't plant grain in their yard; they'll plant trees in their yard. So it's still considered like a living area. Now the Gemara explains, Nizra Rubai. We said that there's a problem if the majority of it was planted with grain. What happens now is Nizra Rubai is that I now have two areas in the same enclosure. I have this courtyard, I have his house, his courtyard, and I have his grain area, his field. It's both in the same location. So Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yishua lo yamarna lo yosem mi beis hasayim. The problem there with Nizra Rubai, where you lose the enclosure, it's not considered an enclosure anymore for Shabbos, is if the area is larger than a beis hasayim. In other words, what was the Rubai? The majority. The whole area was much larger than a beis hasayim, but the majority is also larger than a beis hasayim. Aval beis hasayim, but if it would be exactly a beis hasayim, 100 by 50 or 70 by 70, then mutter. Even though I have two areas that are connected, but it doesn't matter, because the area that has the grain in it is not more than the forbidden amount. It's only up to a beis hasayim, and it's open to this courtyard. So you have two areas together. Come on, who would that go like? Where the two areas together don't create a problem. That would follow Reb Shimon. That would follow the opinion of Reb Shimon. We had this before. We had it in Shabbos as well. The Tanan Reb Shimon Aimer Echad Gagas Vechad Chatzeos Vechad Karfifas Rishus Achasein. Roofs and gardens and courtyards are all one area. Now, what this is referring to is that really I'm not supposed to be carrying in a courtyard that other people have access to, unless I made an Eruv, unless we joined together and we made it like one family. Now, Reb Shimon holds that in the courtyard itself you're allowed to carry. You can't take from your house into the courtyard. And he adds to that not only the courtyard, but if the courtyard is open to a roof, that would be probably built on a hill, but there's a roof of a house on one side and it goes into the courtyard. So you'd be able to carry from the courtyard from the roof into the courtyard or into a garden. He says all of those are considered one area. Those are not really dwelling areas that are considered separate rishuyas. They're all one type of rishus. Courtyards and roofs and gardens, all one type of rishus, and to carry from one to another is no problem. It's only from houses into them. So what do we have over here? Let's go further. It says, they're all one rishus. Now, if when Shabbos came in I had chairs and whatever inside my courtyard or on my roof, I can take them from one place to the other, even though there's no Eruv. But I can't do that if it's in the house. Kalim, that when Shabbos came in, were in the house. If my folding chairs were in my house and I want to eat outside, I can't carry them out, or I can't take them to the roof. He holds that my courtyard and my roof are one rishus. They can go from one to another without an eruv, but not from my house into courtyard or onto the roof. So what we're saying over here is that the combined area of a courtyard and the karfeif is not a problem, because Reb Shimon holds it's all one rishus. That's what we're getting over here. Who says that the courtyard doesn't mess up my karfeif, that I can carry in the karfeif and I can carry in the courtyard as long as it's at the level of it, that it's not more than a base of sayim in my karfeif. I'm saying karfeif, what I mean is the area that was sown with grain. It doesn't, my courtyard doesn't mess that up. Being directly open, it's 100% open one to another, is because that's Reb Shimon's opinion that says that it's anyways one rishus. Gemara says, Reb Shimon Nami, Kivan din Izruba, 1 second. What's going on over here? According to Reb Shimon, you're going to say it's one rishus, fine. So the being open to a courtyard is not like being open to someone else's rishus where you need an eruv. However, it was sown an area of a base of sayim, which was the majority of the enclosed area. Plus, I have the minority of the enclosed area, which was not sown, which we're considering your courtyard. Kivan den Izrubai, havi hahim hahu miyuta batal legabi ruba. So the little area that's left, that's not sown, should be nullified to the area that is sown. And now you measure the whole thing. Why don't you measure the whole thing together? The area that's not sown should be nullified to the area that is sown, and now you have more than a base of sayim. So I understand the two areas of the. Basically, I have an area that's. Maybe I can do this like this. If I can hold up a picture. Okay. There we go. I don't know if you can see that. I have a courtyard, and there's a house in it. There's a karfeif, and you see little dots there. That's because it's sown. There's grain in there, and right next to it is a chutzah, is open area. What we're saying is that the karfeif area is a base of sayim. Okay, that should be fine. The chutzah, it's open totally to the chutzah. And it's not a problem because it's Reb Shimon's opinion that says being open to a chutzah doesn't change anything. However, the question is, but now the area is larger than a base of sayim. That's the question. Okay. Okay. So the Gemara explains, if it was taught, we have to teach it differently. Hamiyuta shari. If it's less than a base of sayim, then it's permissible. In Amar Rav Huna Breid Rav Yishua Layamarna al Dleihavi base of sayim, aval base of sayim also. If it would be a base of sayim, then it would be a problem. Come on, who would that go like? Kirabanan, that would go like the Rabbanan. Okay. Gemara's going to give us a few options here, how to do this. If only a minority of this enclosure was sown, not the majority. If a minority of this enclosure was sown, so then it's going to be permissible. Now, comes along Rav Huna Breid Rav Yishua says, how big is that minority? That minority is less than a base asayim, or up to a base asayim. So therefore, it's not called a karfif. However, if that would already be a base asayim, and it's a minority of the entire area, then it would be usher. You wouldn't be able to carry in the area that was sown. You wouldn't be able to carry in the area that wasn't sown either. The whole thing would become usher. Come on, who would that go like, that you can't carry in either one? We said, Kirabanan goes according to the Rabbanan. Why? Because the Rabbanan were the ones that said that these two areas are separate areas. A chatzar and a karfif are not one area, and you can't carry in either area, even if it's the minority. Rav Yirmiyah Midifti Masni, Rav Yirmiyah Midifti Masni Lakula, he learns this in a more lenient way. Ha miyuta shari. When did we say it's aser if you sow grain? Basically, what we're learning here in short, in summary, with all the complications of how to read this, is that grain in a living area could ruin the area, could ruin the enclosure. It turns it into a field, and not a living area. Now, if the minority of the living area, it's an enclosure that has a house in it. If the minority of it was sown, so then, according to Rabbi Yirmiyah Midifti, it's going to be permissible. And Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua, we're redoing what Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua says. Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua says on that, when did we say that's a problem, or that it's permissible, that it's mutter if it's less, if it's a minority, that's only if it's a beis asayim. Layamar nela beis asayim. Avol yesim beis asayim, then it's also. If it's more than a beis asayim, then you can't carry in there. Now, who would hold that? That if it's less than a beis asayim, it's not a problem. That would be Kaman Reb Shimon. That would be Reb Shimon's opinion that holds that just being open to a chutzner doesn't ruin it. Okay, let's see how far we can get. The Gemara said before that trees are not a problem. Trees don't ruin the living area. People plant trees where they in their garden, well, I can't use the word garden because garden was a problem in their courtyard. It says Nita Rubai, it's still considered like a courtyard. It's considered like a courtyard and you can carry in there. That's only if there are benches along the side. I have pictures in here, but whatever. Benches along the trees. That means that it's considered a courtyard, and the trees that are there for shade and to be a comfortable living area. Not just plain trees. It's not a forest. Rav Nachman says, no, you don't need benches. It's still mutter. Trees are still considered a living area. Mar Yehuda ikla lebei Rav Huna bar Yehuda. Mar Yehuda came to the house of Rav Huna bar Yehuda in Chazanu lahanu de layavidi tableis. He saw trees that they didn't have benches amongst them. When they were carrying in there. Amar lei, so Mar Yehuda says to Rav Huna bar Yehuda, it says Leisavar lamar lahadavimi. You don't hold of what Avimi said. Avimi said that you can only carry in an area that has trees if there's benches amongst the trees. It says no. Amar lei, Anakar of Nachman's really, I go like the other opinion. I go like Rav Nachman. Nachman said you don't need benches there. Trees are acceptable. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if someone's asking something. Because I can't see everyone. Yeah, I'm using the phone. So Rav Nachman says the name of Shmuel. Karfev Yesim Beis Asayim Shleihuka Fladira. An enclosure that's larger than a Beis Asayim, that you don't have a living area in there. However, what can you do to fix it? What can you do to fix it? What you did now is you built a house there, and now you want to be able to use it. But when the enclosure was originally made, you didn't have a house there. Now you put up the house. So does it become permissible automatically, or do you have to do something? Reminds you of like a sukkah. You have to lift it up, lift up the schach and put it back down. So what he says is like this. Pirates by pirtza yoser miyeser. You make a hole in the wall larger than 10 tvachim. Begoidrei umamidai al eser umuter. Then you fill it back in to the area of 10 amas. Once it's at the level of 10 amas, then you're allowed to have a wall. That's an opening in the wall. That's 10 amas. So you open it more than 10 amas, which was not allowed, and then you close up that last amma to make it back to 10, which is permissible, which basically means you built the wall while the house was built already. Ibaylu, they have a question. Paratzama v'godarama, paratzama v'godra. Achashlima eliyesimi asrmao. He did one amma at a time. You broke an amma and then you closed it up, and then you broke another amma and you closed it up, you broke another amma, and now collectively you now have 10 ammas that were redone, that were re-walled after the house was built. Does that count? Or does it, because at no single point was the enclosure invalid, even though you now have 10, so do I look at it that I now have 10 new ammas here that were built, or do I view it that it was never invalid? It was never taken down more than 10 ammas. It was only one amma at a time that was broken. Oh, what's the din? So Malay, Lavhainu de Tanani says, 1 second, isn't that what it says in Mishnah? I think it's in Kalim. It says, yeah, in Kalim. It says, Kolkle Balabatim, I have utensils that belong to a homeowner. So shiuran, what is the measurement to make them not into a vessel, to make them pure? Let's say they were tamei and the way to make them tar is if you make them not a vessel, you break it. So shiuran karimayim, the measurement is like a pomegranate. It means when you hold it, the pomegranate would fall through the holes. So then it's not considered a vessel anymore. So Chizkiah had a question on that. Nikev kamaitzi zayas ususamai. Let's say it had a hole that doesn't let out pomegranates, but it's big enough to let out olives. And the assumption here is that why is a basket or a vessel that doesn't hold pomegranates become pure? Because that's the largest fruit that you would use it for. Once it doesn't hold pomegranates, then it's basically useless. If it doesn't hold olives, then you can still use it for pomegranate, so it still has a use. So here the olives are falling out, but you closed up the hole. But then another hole came, and you closed that up as well. You patched it up. Until when you look at all the patches, you see you have a patch the size of a pomegranate. Altogether, the patches equal a pomegranate. So basically, this thing was broken to the extent of that pomegranates would fall through the holes. So Mao, what's the din? Do we say that you add them all up? Or do you say that no, it was never a hole that would let out a pomegranate? The Amalei Rabbi Yochanan told Chizkiah, Rabbi Shenislan Sandal, you taught this to us already. You taught this to us. You told this to us about a sandal. Sandal means a sandal. What did it say about a sandal? It says about if a person is a zav, it's a type of tumah that comes from the body. So it creates something called tumas medras. Anything that you tread upon or lay on becomes tummy. So what does it say? If he has shenifsika me achas me ozna betikna, there's 2 straps. One in the front, one in the back onto the sandal. One of them broke, so he fixed it. So the sandal is tummy medras. It was never, you could always use this sandal. It was never totally broken. It turns into like, what's it called? Clogs or something. So it has one strap over the front. So it's still tummy medras because it's a utensil, or it's an item that is used for walking, which is medras. Medras means to step on it. It's also sitting or laying. All of that is tumas medras. Medras is a higher level of tumah. It takes on the tumah of the zav himself. Nifsaka shniya, let's say the second strap broke, v'tikna, and you fix that one, then it's tar. And tar min medras, it becomes tar from the medras. However, aval tami maga medras, but it's considered like it was touched, which means that it's a rishon l'tumah. It's not the avatam of the zav himself. Va'amrit Allah, but you said on it, ma'ishna rishayna. What's the difference if the first one broke? It's still tamei. Why is it still tamei? The kaima shniya, because the second one is there. Shniya nami, a kaima rishayna. When the second one broke, you had already fixed the first one. Va'amrit lan Allah, so you explained on chadashis ba'alakan that it's a brand new shoe. Yeah, you fixed the first one. But when the medras, when the zav stepped on it, that was previously, that was before. Now you've already redone the whole thing. You fix this strap, you fix the second strap, you don't have the same shoe anymore. So it becomes tar. It doesn't become tar entirely, it's still considered touched, but it's not a tumas medras. So hachinami panam chadashis ba'alakan over here also, by this utensil, that it got patched after the first hole for the olive. It got patched again, second hole. So now it's already at the time that it's that pomegranates can fall out, should become tar. So, and now this takes us back to answer our question of a breach in the wall that was made after the house was built. You broke down one amma and then you built it. You broke down another amma and you built it. Another amma. We would say panim chadashis balakan. We have a brand new wall. So Kari Allah left in Barinish. He said that Rabbi Chizki was so impressed with Rabbi Yochanan. He said, "This is not a man. This must be an angel." Ikadamri. Some say that what he said was Goindein Barnash. This is a real man. That this is like the ultimate human being. It's like a musarvat. What's how high a person can reach? Okay, I guess we have to leave it there.